Welcome back to Cards and Comics. I have another delayed mail day. And what I've been doing is breaking my mail days up into different segments I collect. Today is going to be football. And I'm going to start with modern, and then I'm going to go into vintage, because I just like to be different. The only really modern cards I've got is I've decided to go a little bit into CJ Stroud, get a few of his base or kind of cool rookie cards. So here's the first one. We've got the Origins base rookie, and I think they're just a really nice design card. The only thing I don't like is they did the sepia tone kind of on him with the colorful background. I'm not sure that works as well. I think it would have been cool if it would have just been like all color, but I don't know. That's just me. They're still a nice looking card, so there you go. Base rookie, and again, I haven't graded anything, so like I don't know if I'm going to grade anything from these cards or not. I haven't sent anything to PSA almost in a year since last national. It's so expensive and takes so much time. So I'm thinking about it. The only thing I've been grading is through ComC. I thought about actually just sending some cards into ComC and then just kind of grade them over time, because I don't really need a lot of these back quickly. A lot of PC stuff I really don't need back fast. Next up is a really cool looking card. I don't really know what it's really worth. I just, bought it at a local show at the time, and then it kind of like, price wise, it was close, and so, but I think it's called a Contours, and it's out of Phoenix, and I just think it's pretty. It has really nice. I like the kind of how they've got that contrast refractor look in the back. So there you go. And again, they have this kind of faded out sepia tone CJ Stroud look here. So again, another CJ Stroud rookie card. These aren't numbered, so they're kind of like an insert rookie card. So not really a true base, but I think they look really nice. Next up is another card from Phoenix. And Phoenix is kind of my go-to cheap football set for modern, because I think they look nicer than Prism. The color parallels look nicer, and again, it's way cheaper, per card. So here we go. This is the purple CJ Stroud, and I think the purples are numbered to 125. There you go. So yeah, I love again the set. I think it's like a really cool. Maybe it's like their version of Finest. Like this is like maybe like the Panini's Finest. It's kind of like great designs, cheaper product, and they're not the go-to rookie card. So if this is a Prism to 125, it would be worth a heck of a lot more than the Phoenix card. I think the Phoenix cards just look nicer, honestly. And then last but not least is because I had to have at least one Prism. I do have a Prism Silver CJ Stroud. So I got a few Stroud rookies. So not really breaking the bank on all these. I think, it's a little bit of an investment, but, he had a great run last year. I think he looked really solid in the playoffs. And we'll see if they build a team around him. I mean, he's definitely, for my thought last year, he was by far the best rookie last year. And we'll see what happens. I mean, it's like a few cards. Look, I'm not going to go deep on anyone as a rookie anymore. I like to keep some modern rookies, and you'll see my baseball card update and mail day. I got a few modern rookies as well. So it's just like I like to have a few, and just to keep me interested in the modern game, because I don't want to get like where I'm just like, I hate all new cards and, all modern players suck. I don't want to be one of those guys. Try not to be one of those guys. But, but it's definitely, like when I was young, it was all about the new stuff. Just like, kids today. I mean, they want to collect, what they see and what everyone's excited about. As you get older, you seem to, everyone seems to kind of go back to either the eras they grew up in or vintage, or they go in different directions. And so, I'm in that phase of kind of toning down the modern, pretty much. So, next up is vintage, and this is a card I've never owned. In fact, I'm really excited I was able to pick it up. And it is a super old holder here, guys. So this is like one of the early generation holders, and I'll show it to you, because the holder to me is like fascinating to see one of these in the wild still. but it's a 1955 Topps Newt Rockne from the All-American set, which is a great card. I love this card. I've got the Jim Thorpe. Love the Jim Thorpe. It's just a great set. It's one of the best sets ever made. It's really one of the first really early football sets that people really, I think collected it heavily. When because football cards were never that popular. Even when baseball cards got a huge renaissance, a lot of football sets never really did. But this was like one of the very first ones that people really said, okay, if I'm gonna collect football cards, this is one of the first sets that a lot of people collected. 52 Bowman Large is another one. So it's one of the kind of like classic football sets because it has cards like Newt Rockne in it, which is awesome. Now look at this holder. For one thing, you got like kind of the old font. You've got that X-Mint, on one line, so that's different. But look at the back. Oh my God, you've got the kind of like I won't say embossed, but it's almost like printed. Where you could actually just rub that off. You can actually rub this off with your fingernail because it's just like, it's not like etched into the card. It's just kind of printed over it. So this is kind of like, you see these older holders like this, and you'll see some of this removed because it's, they've just been sliding around on each other. But then you got the old Collector's Universe hologram. So this holder is old. That's what I was actually, when I got the card, I'm like, holy crap. I didn't even realize it was like a early gen holder here. So it's kind of like a unicorn from that perspective. But I think the card is very nice. And I looked at it. It's got a ding here, right? You can see that ding. In the old days, we used to talk a lot about front to back. So you can see the damage on both sides of the card. And when that happens, you talk about like that corner, if it's front to back and the damage is more than at the tip, that was the classic way you could tell if a card was going to 6 or not. It was like, okay, you have a slight damage to the corner, that's going to be an 8. Like a little bit of, the little tips of white that people talk about. Like, okay, well, that's not going to 9 or 10. So, that's going to be an 8. Okay, you have enough damage. So it's like more than just a little tip, but you can't see it on both front and back. Okay, that's 7. Or if you have 2 of those tips, okay, that could be a 7. So it's like, kind of had a little system there. Then, damage front to back. That's probably going to be a 6. That's enough damage that they're going to be like, okay, unless the card's perfect every other way, that could be a 6. So anyway, that's just a little back in the day kind of how we looked at cards, and it's completely changed a little bit nowadays. I mean, I can't really tell. Like, with this card 6, would they 5 it now? Like, who knows? I think it is a nice card for a 6. It presents really well, really clean, good border. So as far as whiteness, and just a nice card. So I think overall, this card is a 6. Presents really nice. So I was happy to get it, and just the holder kind of blew me away a little bit because I hadn't seen one of those in a long time. Next up is a card I don't own, which is kind of weird, but it's a 72 Topps Steeler, and I have a lot of my Steeler cards. And so this was interesting that it was the 72 Topps Terry Bradshaw in action. So it's an 8, but it's a very well centered 8. I mean, it's a little off left to right. But again, these cards are very hard to get centered. So it was cool to see this card just because I love the set. I think 72 Topps is an underrated set because 71 takes all the thunder, but 72, like with the all pro cards and all that, it's a nice set. So cool to get this card. I was happy to grab it, and it was super duper cheap. All right, that was the 2 vintage cards. So nothing earth shattering, but I think the 55 Rockne is a cool card. Really excited about that. Next up, we'll go into some autographs. So first up from 2000, Absolute. This is a Boss Hog Peyton Manning auto. These are on card, and these are just cool, cheapy Peyton Manning 2000s cards, right? I mean, you got the stamping here. These Boss Hogs are cool. So the one thing I will say about these cards, and again, they were, I mean, it doesn't matter what the odds are. I'm going to talk a little bit about these cards. Pacific, Absolute, a lot of these companies, Playoff, Absolute, Playoff, Pacific, the Pinnacle, there was a time period where Unfortunately, a lot of the cards, um, either as they were going through bankruptcy, like, when Pinnacle did and Score, a lot of cards didn't make it in packs. And, like, for example, I've run up into dealers that had like runs of like the Boss Hog, the ball patch, it had the game used ball with the odd on them. And they're like, how do you have like 40 of them? It's like, that's a lot. And I know you didn't just go buy them all. And so they were buying them, and, they bought them in sales when companies went bankrupt, or things got kind of like sold on, at the door. I mean, that's happened back then. So I would just say, like, a lot of these never made it out of pack. Now, not this set specifically. I'm just saying, like, in general, those cards. And I think it did hurt those cards' reputation. A lot of people stayed away from those cards because it was a little bit like, hey, were they signed by Peyton? Were they really autographed? How'd you get, like they were not, it kind of hurt that company's reputation and the hobby. And I think people are kind of rediscovering the cards, but by doing that, like by having that kind of questionable history, it's made these cards really, really cheap. And if you can kind of say, well, I've seen a lot of Peyton autos, and that looks really real. I'm not really questioning authenticity of this card. What I'm just saying is that the base, the set itself, or the company itself, towards the end of its life, let's say, before it was sold and resold, I think it was sold twice. It kind of did some stuff that made people upset. And just like, like when Fleer did, like, sold a lot of cards backdoored or in estate sales that weren't autographed, that people autographed, and those things like that. That just makes those cards and those sets just so unattractive for collectors later down the line, because no one wants to buy cards from the 90s or early 2000s that you're just like, is this real or not? And it's happened to a lot of cards. In fact, I was looking at a Reggie White auto the other day, and it's one of those Reggie White with the wrong sticker auto from the running back, and it's just like, you have to. This the one that also sucks is you have to keep a kind of running list of which sets were affected, what years were affected, which companies were affected, which cards were questionable, which ones weren't. I mean, it's a lot to keep track of, and that's one of the kind of turnoffs. Again, by doing that, is that you make collectors have to do a lot of work to keep all that stuff straight, so you don't get ripped off. That's the biggest problem of the downside of the 90s, in my opinion, in the early 2000s, is the bankruptcies, the backdoor sales, the Tops doing top stuff where they, had uncut sheets of cards or unstamped cards that people eventually got their hands on. It's just created a lot of cards out there that people just either have to know a lot about or stay away from. So anyway, sorry about that. Next up, we got a really cool card, and a full set of these just sold. And like the Joe Montana went nuts, and like a few of the cards in the set really sold high. I got this from maybe from the same guy. I didn't really notice. But like basically like a week before. And I thought it was a good price. And these are numbered out of 100, so this is the gold version. So 25 out of 100, and it's a great looking on-card auto. And again, this was kind of before, or maybe they didn't ask SGC to grade the auto. The auto is very strong, and it's the gold number out of 100, Joe Namath. It's a great set. I really love that set. And I bid on a few of those that were up for auction just recently, and I didn't win any of them. I got outbid. I mean, it was a strong bidding on those cards. So go back and look. It's the 1999 Upper Deck Century Legends, the Epic Signature set, and you can just see what some of those cards brought. It was pretty strong. All right, next up, my last auto, and it's a good one. It is from 1999 Score Supplemental. This is the Jim Brown subscriptions or inscriptions auto. Sorry. This is graded at 910, the 10 auto. And these cards have a big problem because they're acetate, and you see streaky or bubbling or missing parts of signatures. This one is really nice. Perfect signature. These are acetate, so you can see through them. There's another set that has like the Barry Sanders, and there's some really high-end cards or high-end players that were on cards, these kind of inscription cards. So it's a great set. It's just the autos sometimes are so streaky or damaged that a lot of people just avoid them. But if you can find a strong one like this, they're worth getting, and you just have to protect the cards because these '90s autos, you see so many of them faded or bubbly or streaky now because of just either poor like planning where you put cards on ink on cards that should never had ink. A good example of that is like sweet spot cards, like like those autos are almost all disappearing. So if you had a sweet spot auto from a certain year, those, certain types of pens, those are completely faded and gone. So it just shows you like there wasn't a lot of shelf life testing or product testing being done by these companies. They were just pumping out product, and they sometimes didn't realize that materials, like didn't have a material scientist to really give them some help to say, okay, don't put this kind of ink on this kind of material or else it will fade or go streaky on you. Just another little rant there. Next up are two cards I got in a lot, and this guy was selling a bunch of these cards, and I picked these two up because they were like I think these were both maybe under $20 each. And one of them it's the 94 Pinnacle Trophy Collection. So here's the Dan Marino. Again, this is the Dufex. And then his Orlando Pace. I think it's his rookie, maybe second year. I don't know. It says rookie. A lot of times the rookie cards in football, they are the rookie. So I'm thinking it's a rookie card. But this is from 97 Pinnacle, not 94. But again, it's Trophy Collection. And I just love both cards. I just think, all-time Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame rookie card. And you get these cards like under $20. It's just, that's why I love football cards to collect, because you can get a lot of great football cards, a lot of players, best players they ever played, and sometimes you can get great looking inserts like these, this really awesome Dufex technology in $10-15. And yes, one's a 7, one's a 9, so I get it, but still, they're beautiful cards and they're so cool. I'd rather buy one of those than one pack of like E-Pack cards of something, that's just not as cool as that. Next up is the first card I've owned from the set ever. Let's say first card of this type I've ever owned from the set. Now, I don't open a lot of 90s football cards, and I've had a few requests, and, I eventually I will, I think, I opened up a box of, I think, 99 Fleur Brilliance football on my channel once, and because I was really into the Fleur Brilliance and Mystique sets, and I didn't get anything. I didn't get any golds. I got really hammered on that box. That box was terrible. And so it kind of was like almost like a sign, like maybe, I don't have amazing luck, but I do okay on my baseball breaks. Man, that box was like rough. Go back and look at that box. That is probably one of the all-time skunk boxes that were ever opened on my channel. So, and again, when you talk about the cost, so, but this set here, I've opened many boxes of this baseball on my channel, but not football. And it's 97 Finest, and this is a gold embossed refractor, and it's a Hall of Famer, and it's Marvin Harrison. So this was up, and I thought it was at a great bite now price, so I just went ahead and grabbed it. I kind of think these cards are going to, just start getting snapped up, and you're seeing it with rubies and PMGs. And these cards, to some extent, like Griffey and Barry Sanders, are all gone now. People have snapped them all up. But the trickle down does happen. You're seeing it now with PMGs, rubies, essential credentials, where even base cards and say second tier Hall of Famers are starting to get snapped up and put into collections or put into sets. People are building sets or teams or whatever. Like they're those cards are starting to get snapped up, and I think these kind of cards will eventually go that way. I know a few dealers that are already targeting these kind of cards and trying to build volume in these cards to have them if they start to go up like this. Now, the one thing that's interesting about this year, and also with like basketball, is the different sets had different die cuts. So this is a different die cut than Barry Sanders. The baseball set all had the same die cut. And I don't know which one I like better, honestly. I don't know if I like the fact that all the baseball cards have the same kind of die cut, where they all look uniform. Whereas in football and basketball, they all look different, But the sets, the kind of subsets, all have the same die cut. But when you compare two subsets, they're different, and that kind of makes the cards look unique. But it also makes it not have a kind of uniform feel, and it kind of the OCD kicks in. Now, the cool thing about these cards, showed off a little bit, was they have the refractor pattern on both sides. I'll take out this holder because I'm gonna reholder it anyway. Some of these sleeves are so they're not very clear, so I'm just gonna put it in that way you can maybe see it a little bit better how shiny and cool it is, especially the back. So there you go. So there you go. My first 97 finest embossed refractor gold of any kind, and it's a player. Also, I lived in Indianapolis for a long time, so this is one of those cards that I know some of my buddies from Indy would be excited about too. So I grabbed it, and it's in the permanent, 90s football collection, or until someone wants to make me a cool trade, for maybe a Griffey card or something like that. We'll see. Who knows? When I go back to Indy, maybe I'll do something like that. Now, the last part of my collection update is a big one. It's just, I've been really focused on Reggie White for the last couple months. And I have a bunch of cards on Check Out My Cards that I got graded and are going to be sent to me. Some low numbered, some from really, really awesome sets. So I'll do that update when those cards come in. But here are some really fun and some of the, I think, coolest Reggie White cards. And Reggie White doesn't have very many high-end cards, and doesn't have very many autos. So he's kind of a cool guy to collect because it's very limited. Whereas guys like Griffey, like Brett Favre, they played so long in so many different sets, and even Tom Brady, they just have so many cards and so many high-end cards that it feels like you just will never make a dent when you're collecting. It feels like with Reggie White, you could, honestly own a lot of his big cards, and you would not have a huge collection because he just doesn't have that many. So seeing that, the first card up isn't a big card, but it's a cool card, and it's a set that I loved as a kid, 93 SP All Pros. The die cuts, it goes full. I mean, look, this is early. This is 93, okay? Cards like this were special, okay? We didn't see a lot of die cuts. We didn't see a lot of foiling like this. These cards were super duper hot. Now, these cards are also condition sensitive. You got the borderless card. You got the die cut. You got the embossing. And again, with all that, even on the back, chipping is very common. So PSA 10s are hard to get. So I thought this was a cool pickup just because, again, I'm not a 10 collector, but if I can find 10s of cards I know are hard, I'll pay a little bit more. I'll consider it. I hate buying 10s and cards that I know have millions of copies and paying a lot of money for a 10 just because, of that. This card is hard to get. And I felt like the premium I paid wasn't really that much compared to how hard I know they are to get. And it's just a really cool early insert for Reggie White. So I felt like it was a little bit iconic, I think, for a card for him early on in 93. Now, next card up is another card that I'm really stoked about because it's a set that, like I said, it's not... it's numbered, it's cool looking, but it's not like the upper tier level. It's not an essential credential. Let's just put it that way. It's not a PMG. But it's a really cool insert set, and it's like one of those ones that I think is growing in popularity. It's the Rave from 97 Impact. And again, this has the purple foil. You can see that right there. And then these are numbered out of 150. You see right there in the back. So this card is 113 of 150. So again, love the set. I don't have a Griffey Rave, I don't think. I have to go back and look. So, it's like one of those insert sets that to me is iconic. Just because, it was like a parallel that, at first when people, I remember when these came out and they were like, who cares? The cards are kind of cheesy looking and all that. And over time, they've grown in popularity. And pricing's gone up. And now that Griffey Rave is worth a lot of money. And so, I think the Reggie White, number to 150, it's a cool card. I like it a lot. And so, it was one of those kind of it's not his super high end, but it's really cool. Now, next up is Undisputed, one of the most popular insert sets. And again, this is kind of like like there's a tier above it, which is going to be impossible to get, but that would be a God tier card. That's one of the God tier cards that is for Reggie White. But I have a really cool one, and this is the 99 Floor Brilliance Gold. So remember, I said I opened a box of this, and I got skunked. So I didn't get a single gold card or anything, really, out of that whole box. And so it just shows you that you just don't get a gold in every box. It takes a couple boxes just to get the gold. To get the higher end version, which is the 24 karat, which is the refractor version, that's even harder to get. So these cards are rare. This card is numbered to 99, and let's see here, it's card 93 of 99. Yeah, that is so funny it's 98 of 99. Sorry. But, it's close to his jersey number, right? That would have been really cool. Obviously, been worth a huge premium if it was. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Reggie White collectors that want his jersey number on cards like this. Would pay probably a pretty good premium. Now, this card is very shiny, so it's hard to show off without getting a lot of glare. The one thing I will say is that I hate the holder. It is super scratched up holder. It is like going to have to be reholdered. It's a lot of scratches and things going on. So it's really, it's just one of those things where it's distracting. I'm not a holder, guy. I mean, meaning I've sold on eBay, been at card shows where guys are like, I like the card, but you need to give me $15 off because I'm going to have to get a reholder because there's a scratch on the back. I'm not one of those guys. I don't ask for eBay refund because there's a scratch on the card, but this card is distractingly scratched up. So it's definitely something I'm going to look to getting, probably reholdered, but it's a beautiful card. And I just, it's one of the coolest, cards out there for Reggie White, number 99. So the last card here, this is the last one. I got one more. Last card. It is, in my opinion, probably top 5, Reggie White cards out there. It's really beautiful. Now, I mentioned the Brilliance 24 karat. That's probably higher. Probably some of the select mirror from 96 could be higher. But the one thing about it is this card's actually numbered. And so, to me, the select 96 set does suffer a little bit because it's not numbered. But this is 97 Pinnacle, totally certified platinum gold. So this is the platinum gold. And besides just being beautiful, it's really a beautiful card. It's graded a PSA 10, which again, I'm not a 10 chaser, but can't hurt to have this be a 10. And love that pattern. You can just see how it looks. And the gold in his jersey does go really well. But remember, this set is numbered out of 30. One of the lowest print insert card sets from the 90s. The only one that's lower than I'm just off the top of my head, I think the 98 Bowman Chrome Golden Anniversary is to 5. So that would be another one very low. But this is to 30. You got Brilliance 24 karat, 24. That's why I say this is probably in the top 5, in my opinion. You can correct me if you're wrong, if you're a huge Reggie White. And again, I'm just talking I'm not talking autos. Just talking his insert or parallels from that time period. Because autos for Reggie, the real ones, are very expensive as well, because there's not many of them that are real. So there you go. This is my my mail day. Again, I like to be very broad in my collection. I just like having cards that as a kid I would have loved to have, right? This is sort of how I collect. I think about would these cards appeal to me when I was a kid? Were they cards I would have loved to own? And the answer is yeah. These are the cards that I would have been super stoked to pull out of a pack. A Joe Namath auto. Could you imagine a kid pulling a Namath auto? And even as an adult getting a Newt Rockney card, right? I mean, that would have been cool as a kid, Even as a kid, I collected vintage. So it's these are all cards I would have been super stoked to get as a kid, collecting, football cards and buying and selling cards. So, this is, again, what I love about, the hobby is that how diverse you can be, how different cards are, and but they're all going to the same collection. And to me, they make sense to collect like this, but to a lot of people, it's like they don't collect the way I collect. And I think that's what makes the hobby beautiful. Everyone does it their own way, and nobody is wrong. And so, hopefully, you like the mail day. It was a little long, but I just wanted to kind of share it with you guys. A lot of fun cards here, and hopefully, you guys like what you see. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.